What's up, guys? I'm Lex McMahon. That's the Angry Chihuahua, Jose Shorty Torres, Boston Strong, Charles Rosa in the house, and this is the Twins Podcast. Thanks for checking us out.
Is it bad that I'm fangirling right now? Hi, Charles.
You are. I'm kind of fangirling too, and I've known Charles forever. Hey, so, all right, guys, here we are. We're up in Hardaway, Alabama at the, Old Town Creek Farm. Thank you, Shorty, for showing off the logo. They've been amazing to us, opening up the farm so we could do the Breaking Lex fight camp up here. Charles Rosa has been, gracious enough to come up and help coach and participate and just be part of this experience. Charles, one of the things Shorty and I like to do when we have this is we got the Furious Five. 5 questions that kind of just allow us to, open up, get loose, relax a little bit. I think there's no subject matter that is off limits.
All right.
Have fun with it. So I'm going to start out with the first question. Shorty, are you petting a turkey?
Dude, this feels so real.
Well, it is real. That is a dead turkey.
Something else.
We get some sanitizer.
Welcome to Redneck, Alabama.
Dude,
every animal that's dead, and there's like 30 of them in here.
More than that.
They are real.
There's like a bobcat on the wall.
If you make that noise around here, dude, you could get shot.
Yeah, I might get shot. First question,
All right,
please.
first question. Charles, we'll start with you. Worst injury you've ever had? You've had some good ones, and fairly recently.
Definitely it was my AC joint. I got a guy in a triangle. It was like my 7th pro fight, fighting this kid Brian Van Arsdalen. I got him in a nasty triangle, perfect. Walked in. I'm like, oh, both to win. He picks me up and does the rampage slam, but adds a little twist to it and just spikes me on my neck and my shoulder. Boom, my shoulder pops out. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. I thought I'm concussed. I thought I was concussed. I'm all messed up. But, I'm fighting. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is.
The adrenaline's going.
Adrenaline's going. I mean, I came there to win, so I just kept fighting through it. I took a couple shots, and then I just kept fighting my way through it. I knew I was hurt. I didn't know what it was, and somehow magically I just get the arm bar. Boom, pop his arm. He taps out. I stand up and my shoulders hanging off, and it hurts. I was so happy I won, but it hurt so bad. It was like I couldn't. I was laughing. I was like,
right.
"Oh, this is awesome! I won!" But this is the worst pain of my life.
So
I just was and I'm like, ah. And the best part about it is my cornerman Charles McCarthy at the time. He was in my corner, and when I got slammed, he said it was an illegal. He knew it was an illegal spike because you're supposed to slam someone directly on their head. So he tried to scale the cage, and luckily, my other cornerman, Brown, pulled him down.
By the way, McCarthy has a long history of scaling the cage and getting into incidents.
Just fights in general.
Protecting his fighters. I like
chainsaw. It is a chainsaw.
You don't fuck around, chainsaw. So it's so that's what happened. They kicked him out of the corner during the fight. So it's like a minute into the fight, I get slammed in my head. He's kicked out. I didn't know he was kicked out of the corner. But then my dad basically was the other guy in there, and it was funny because after the fight I won, they put me on the stool instead, and they put ice on my shoulder, and just to check up on me before they raised my hand and said I won and stuff. But I don't think my dad realized I won.
Right.
So basically, they put the thing on my shoulder, and my dad's like, "Are you gonna go for the next round?" I'm like, "Dad, I fucking won."
The fight's over, Dad.
Oh, good, okay. But they definitely wouldn't let me continue if they saw my shoulder. So luckily, I got that.
All right on, Shorty. Worst injury you've ever had?
You were there when I fought Sharepov.
Yeah.
And it's multiple injuries. I got dropped, stuck in a guillotine, broke my hand, and tore my MCL all in the same round.
Ouch.
You're a tough little fucker, by the way.
And I fought 4 more rounds after that. So I fought 25 minutes with all that broken for people who can see. Broke my hand, had to get a bunch of screws and all that stuff. Actually, when I kept on punching, I felt the pop, and I was like, is my hand broken? Punched again. I was like, oh, yeah, no, it's definitely broken.
That doesn't feel good at all.
And then second round, I was like, well, I have to kind of fake it. The problem is he kept on throwing head kicks. So I just felt the pain anyways.
Did Sharepov break his hand too in that fight?
Yeah, so in the third round, I kicked him, and he went to block it like this. He broke his wrist and his thumb.
Yeah.
Because it was shin to hip, and it just crushed him in between, and he stopped. So technically, just want to say it was a TKO.
Right.
But the ref let him continue. He's like, all right, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I keep on fighting. Then after the fight, I couldn't walk, and I didn't know anything about my MCL. After the first round, because I got dropped, I felt such in an awkward way. First round, Master Bob's like, all right, then elbow him. If you can't punch, you got to elbow him. I went to stand up. I shook on my left leg perfectly fine. My right leg just goes up and down. I'm like,
Huh, that's weird.
What the hell? So I dragged my leg out, and then he started punching me, and well, you forget.
Right.
And after the fight, I'm like, yeah. After you give me the belt, I'm like, yeah, I won, champ. I can't walk. And then I got wheelchaired to the hospital, and all the nurses thought I got jumped because I had a white warm up, but it was
honey,
all
what
of my
happened to
blood
you?
all over. They were literally like, oh my god, what happened to you? I was like, I got into a fight, and they saw all the blood, and I had, I think, 12 stitches here, 2 staples, broken hand, torn MCL, and yeah, I got
You
pretty
were
messed up.
scrapped that night, bro. That was a good fight.
And they were like, how many people was it? I'm like, it was just one. You know, like, they're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I was like, oh, it's okay, I won.
You should see the other guy.
Yeah, but he looks perfectly fine. He just has a broken hand. That's all.
Yeah.
But that was my worst injury. What about you?
So let me look at the worst injury you've ever had. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say that this qualifies as an injury. When in the Marines as a young man, and as many young men
time
do,
ago, by the
make
way.
youthful indiscretions, I engaged in the art of cunnilingus with a woman who was not as fresh as she should be. I began the next day. I felt like I was chewing razor blades.
Oh, yeah. All right. I was like, what is
The
this?
corpsman came out. I was like, Doc, I can't talk. He looks in my mouth. He goes, that's horrible. I'm like, what's wrong, Doc?
Smoke.
Well, have you had sex since you've been here? And this is in East Africa, right? And I was like, yeah, Doc, but I wore a condom. On your tongue?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
It's like, oh.
So he gives me a shot with a needle like this big, dude. Jams it right into my throat. And yeah, so I'm going to count an STD as an injury.
Sex ed, guys.
Yeah.
Pay attention to that.
Yeah, just we'll leave it there because it's a bit untoward, but nonetheless, that happened.
Sucks.
Yeah,
okay.
it was horrible. The needle was so big, bro.
I'm just going to move on to the
Yeah.
next question.
Next question.
I guess kind of going on to that, what's the most disgusting thing you've ever eaten and drank? Eat and or
Wait,
drink.
that's not the next question.
I mix them up. I don't care.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it much more challenging.
I'm
to
having
crack.
so much fun.
Okay, well, you're in charge of the
I
questions now,
got 'em.
asshole.
So
Are you asking
what's
me? Well, when I went to Thailand for sure, I tried the scorpion, the
Ooh.
tarantula. I tried. It was disgusting, but someone bet me $10, so I was like, I'll do it.
And
$10.
you are like,
It's
as I've
$10.
come to learn, you are like a chronic
If you
gambler.
put money on it, I'll do it.
that is also very. Don't you
$20
owe Robbie
is
like $20 or
I
something
owe
like
Robbie
that?
Yeah.
Lex, I think you and I have the same one. I'm not sure.
We do, yes. No, without question, 1,000%, camel milk is the most disgusting thing I've ever put in my body.
Dude, it tasted like
The hump.
no.
Good milk in it?
No
bro.
bullshit. No
No,
bullshit.
it's
this
horrible,
is.
bro.
I didn't even know camels
This is
gave
back
milk.
in
Why would
Kazakhstan.
you drink
I didn't even know camels gave milk. So what it is,
It's
honestly.
not milk, bro.
You think it could have been old the one you drank?
Shorty, it's not milk.
Yeah, the concoction I thought of was like if you got rotten milk and got Sprite and mixed it and just stirred it and
It
drank
was horrific.
It was rotten milk but bubbly.
You ate it too?
Yeah, I drank it. It
Was it the
sucked.
worst thing you ever had?
Yeah, it was probably
Alright, so you guys get
probably
to-
up there. At least
Yeah,
from what I can
no,
remember.
It was horrible.
And they
no-
made us drink the whole thing.
Well, it's noted. Never drink camel.
Yeah. Avoid camel milk.
Unless
in
it's for
Kazakhstan
$10.
At all costs.
No, and that's
Unless it's $10.
Well, yeah,
How much? Okay, how much would you drink it for again right now?
Honestly, I'd probably
Right
do
now.
$10 right now.
$10, really?
No, I'm gonna raise the bar, man. Like it's gotta be $100. Like I'll do it for $100. Like it's gotta
$89.
be, it's gotta be
cheap.
worthwhile.
I'm super cheap.
$10.
You are cheap.
I just
would,
want
honestly, I would pay $10 right now to see.
I just want some gas station
Who's got
snacks.
camel milk?
That's it. That's
All right,
it.
Shorty, what do we got?
All right, let's see. The toughest training partner you've ever sparred with.
Man, you've gone with monsters,
Dude,
so
I've
that's
been
gonna
And
be.
you've
hard.
traveled
Tough,
too.
So there's differences. There's tough, and then there's, man.
I guess some of the hardest rounds, like you were just like, man, if I could, talk about a round, this is the guy.
Man, there were so many guys, but when there's this one fighter, they call him the Hebrew Hammer. He's a boxer, so I used to go in the boxing gym. His name's Cletus Selden. He actually just beat Zab Judah. Kid's tough Jewish kid from New York. Like, and me and this kid used to go at it. Like, he had a mean overhand right, so we probably had 100 rounds. And every time I used to leave like the gym, I would just be like, dude, my head hurts. Like every time we just smash each other, and like I couldn't use the kicks and the takedowns because like in MMA, if you get hit with a big shot, you just like shoot
You
it,
adjust,
or you
yeah.
kick, or you keep your distance, you change your style. But I had to fucking stay in front of this kid and just throw every time. And man, that's how I learned to box. But he's notorious. I think he's like 23-1 1 and he has like 19 knockouts. So the kid's a beast. Cletus, the Hebrew Hammer, something I'd say.
All right. Lex?
All right. Oh, there's no question. I mean, like, listen, I've had, trained tons over the years, and trained with some tough guys, but without question, the hardest rounds I've had have been in this training camp, and I've gone with a lot of but dude, Muhammad Usman is a scary individual, bro.
Put my hands down.
Not only did I have to go with Rami, who's a world-class, world champion kickboxer, Muay Thai guy, right? But he's only 170 pounds, right? Then I went with Yuli, who's a bit heavier, who's like a KO artist.
Bare knuckle beast.
The bare knuckle beast, you name it. He's got tons of KOs in boxing, KO in bare knuckle, KO in MMA. Like he just sleeps people.
He's a real dog.
He is. He's very much a dog.
Uh-huh.
So tough rounds with him. But man, like I looked across the cage or the ring and I saw Mo in that like crouch stance that he does. I was like, oh, this shit's about to get real. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, first punch, he split my lip.
You, yeah.
First one, I was like, oh shit, this big man has a lot of strength when he punches. And then today, I'm sitting on my back trying to figure out how to get up, listening to Charles for some little bit of like a little nugget to say, okay, do this and you're going to miraculously pop up and everything's going to be fine. And it took me like 3 minutes. By the way, I was not a minute, asshole. You guys lost track of the time. It was like 3 minutes for sure.
They're like,
5 minutes.
We're not stopping until you get up.
Well, it felt like all 5.
You get up after 3 minutes, and you got up before the round was over.
But
that's good.
There was a moment when I looked up and Mo, he's got enormous nostrils. And I was like looking up.
He just flared his nostrils
up Mo's nasal cavity, and he's just like
dark hole.
It is just massive bombs raining, just like you want me to do, right?
Yes.
Posture up and then let gravity do the work. And he was letting gravity do the work. Mm-hmm. And I was just sitting here like this, trying to frame the punches and trying to figure out a way to extricate myself from a horrific situation. Mo, I love you, dude. Thank God you laughed when I suggested we fight, because that would have been a horrible experience for me.
Oh, man.
What do you got, Shorty?
I've sparred with a lot of people, and Charles has actually seen this one. I talked about the other days with Barboza.
Oh, yeah.
Barboza at the time was fighting Dan Ige, and I was getting ready to help him.
Dynamite Dan.
My fight got canceled like a month earlier, so I'm fat and happy, not knowing when the hell I'm going to fight again. So I'm
You're always
one,
fat and happy.
Yeah,
except when you are like a day out from your fight.
That's actually very true. 160. I only have abs fight week, really, but 160, fat and happy. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, come downstairs, borrow Barboza." I'm like, "Barboza's a 55." They're like, "No, he's making his 45 debut." I was like, so technically he's still a 55er, but he's weighing 160, but jacked, just ripped, in shape. Yeah. And I go downstairs and I had to spar with him 3 weeks. I think 3 days out of the week, every week.
Yeah, dude, I watched those rounds. You did really good. So
it was so hard because, I mean, I know he was being nice with me, but he's kicking hard, he's punching hard, and for me being the small guy and being the person who really takes all the punches, I'm literally hands up being thrown around and tossed around, but I have to take him down and do all this stuff. He was probably the only person I'd go upstairs and be like, I can't do anything for the rest of the week until I spar with him again. Like, I was just exhausted.
How I feel right now.
But I probably can't say for all three of us, we could agree on this. I think the most annoying person to spar with that I actually do hate sparring with is Rami.
Oh yeah.
We all get kicked in the face.
Yeah, he can do anything at any time that he wants.
I don't like it. It pisses me off.
That's why I would have loved to watch him and Wonderboy go, because they both are like world-class strikers.
Well, I watched it. It was pretty incredible. Me and Shorty were sparring, and we're
like, how's that work?
We're like 5 minutes truce. We're just gonna throw jabs and look over here.
That's what we did. We're just like, we're just gonna watch this.
But it was pretty amazing, I think.
Yeah,
like he literally looks at you and goes, and will tell you he's gonna kick you in the face and somehow kick you, and you're just like, oh, yeah. I just want to take off my gear and go home.
Yeah, I'm taking my ball and going home.
He's good.
All right, what do you got, Shorty?
All right, let's see. What is one moment that changed your life?
Moment that changed
any moment.
Well, there's good and bad. Like, would you say?
Doesn't matter.
I would say
a defining moment.
Mm-hmm.
I would say honestly, a defining moment that I can like literally change my life is the day that I went to Charles McCarthy's American Top Team Gym in Boca Raton. At the time, I just had a bicycle. I was like looking for a hobby. I was kind of like sick of just working like a 9 to 5. More like 9 to 8 job, like working like 60 hours a week at the restaurant. I'm like, man, this isn't like what I want to do. Like, I want to be more than this, but whatever. So I found this gym to find like a new hobby when I moved to South Florida, and I went in there and I took Cole Miller's kickboxing class, and
Didn't you like challenge Cole?
that's exactly what happened. So I went in
You're
there.
fucking
I didn't know
crazy,
who Cole
dude.
Miller was.
You're
I was a
nuts.
street kid from Boston, so I went in
You're
there. and
scrappy
I'm
as
like, I will
fuck,
up
but no
this-
technique.
I'm like, I found this place. Like, everyone's fighting each other. This is what I fucking love. This is what I was looking for. Let's go. I didn't know it was a mixed martial arts gym. I thought it was boxing. I'm like, oh, it's a boxing gym. Perfect. They're fighting each other. Perfect. I'm like, first thing I step in the mat, and they're like, you bow before you get on the mat. I was like, okay, just to be respectful. I'm like, I'm gonna fuck all these guys up. Like,
Yeah.
I had no idea. I'm like, these motherfuckers. So first, I didn't even have my own gloves. I borrowed the gloves. Did the class. About 45 minutes of class goes by. You know, we do the stretches, do the drills. Cole's running it, and at the end they go, all right, last 15 minutes sparring, everyone partner up. So obviously I'm the odd man out. I'm like, well, go sparring partner. I'm like, come on. So I was like, Cole, I was like, hey coach, can I? Well, I said, I don't know. I was like, hey, do you want to spar? And he just looked at me and turned away, and he started coaching and like hitting the bag. He was just kind of doing his own thing while everyone else was sparring. I was like, was that a no? And he turns to me, you want to spar me? I go, yeah, I just asked you. I want to spar you. Like, what up? I mean, I don't know, just being kind of cocky. I was like, fuck this kid, and then. He goes, okay. He walked up and he looked at me all weird. I'm like, I think I'm going to fight this kid. This is going to be awesome. Fucking slugged it out with him for all 3 sparring rounds, like, pretty fucking hard. I mean, I still feel I won that battle, but I was
Just want to point out.
A very
I do
unpolished
remember riding my
showman.
bike home and being like, that fucker was tough as fuck.
And then you figured out who he was.
Then the next day, I come in the gym. Charles McCarthy goes, hey, man, you did really good. I'm like, this guy fucking with me or what? Like, and he's like, that kid's Cole Miller. He's a top 10 fighter in the UFC. And I'm like, dude, that's second. A light bulb went off. It changed my entire world.
Yeah.
I knew
You
I
could
was
do
like,
it.
you know what? If that kid can fight in the UFC, and nothing against Cole, he's a great fighter. I go, I know I can do it.
Right.
And I just knew he knows more than me. Fell in love with it. Went back every day since. So that was a defining moment.
Okay.
Lex?
You know, man, I mean, at 49, I've had quite a few, but I think without question, the most significant moment for me was the day I earned the title of U.S. Marine. I was a kid who didn't really know what to do with my life and who I was, and didn't have a moral compass, and I just didn't have a sense of self, and went through, you know, again, like we've been talking about since we've been up here in fight camp, is the importance of going through a crucible, a journey of self-discovery. For me, at 19, going through that journey of self-discovery as to become a Marine and being broken down and broken down and broken down, and being built back up as something so much better, and then coming out and I remember, and you guys, neither one of you will be surprised when I tell you this story. So first week, I go, and I'm a big guy, you know, I just coming out from playing college football, you know, I was like 230 pounds, and they are notorious, the Marines, for doing physical fitness with logs. They're like 500-pound logs, like telephone poles. And so they team everybody up. There's like, say, 5 or 6 dudes on a log. They put me on the end of the log with 5 guys that are Shorty's height. So think about the physics of this, you know, the mechanics of it. I was doing all the work, like literally doing all the work.
Sounds like a relationship now.
And I am just gassed. Yes, Shorty, very much so. Gas. When you fight once a year, every year and a half, yes, I'm doing all the work here. But I was gassed, man. Like I like now where the cardio is so different. Like, you know, I was built from playing football for short bursts, right? And I had prepped myself for boot camp, I thought. Yeah. But I had, you know, very naive. I had no idea what was coming. So this guy gets in my face. He's a drill instructor, and he's like, "You're a pussy. You're not working hard enough." And like I listened to it, I'm like, "What is this asshole? Dude, I'm working so fucking hard right now. I'm giving him everything. What does he want?" He kept on and like, "You're a pussy. You little pussy. You don't put out. Why are you quitting on your team? Are you gonna quit in battle? Blah blah blah." And I finally looked at him like, "Look." I looked at him like, "Oh man, you're an asshole." What? Like, it was like a demon came out of his head, dude. Ah! Drill instructor, hey, this recruit just called me an asshole. All around me, like 10 of them. Just, rah, 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 rah. And I was doing push-ups, I was doing bear crawls, I was doing all kinds of shit, just getting murked. Finally, the entire Marine Corps boot camp is 13 weeks long, right? That was week 1. I paid for that mistake for another 12 weeks. And, you know, every time we would go into a class, recruit, am I still an asshole? And I'd have to stand up. Sir, no, sir, this recruit does not feel a drill instructor, staff sergeant. I still remember his name. Drill instructor, staff sergeant Carmona. Sir, this recruit does not think the drill instructor, staff sergeant Carmona is an asshole, sir. Drill instructor was merely trying to properly instruct this recruit to be a better person and become a Marine, sir. For fucking 12 weeks. 12 weeks. So we get to Edson Rifle Range, which is actually up at Camp Pendleton. And it's where you do the field phase of training. And you touch your rifle. You get your rifle and you go out to the rifle range. So we're at the rifle range. And my senior drill instructor comes to me. And we're we're pulling butts, which is targets, right? So like half the guys are on the line shooting. The other half of the guys are putting targets up in the air to be shot. And then you pull them down, score it, put them back up, right? My senior comes to me and he puts his hand on me and he says, son, it's time to pay your bill. I was like, what's that, sir? He goes, and he walked away. Staff Sergeant Carmona, my drill instructor, walked up, took his smoky off, which is the Marine Corps drill instructor cover, took it off. He was no longer a drill instructor. He just started whooping my ass in front of everybody, man. All of it. And I didn't fight back. I mean, what was I going to do? So I just took the beating. And he laid into me for a long time, man. Like 5 minutes, just whack, whack, whack. Am I an asshole, motherfucker? Am I an asshole? So no, sir, whack. Goddamn right I'm not an asshole. I'm breaking my ass to teach you to be a Marine, you fucking pussy. Whack. Just kicking my ass, man. And, I'm like battered and bloodied. And all the dudes, all my like platoon mates are like, oh shit. They're all looking at it like they don't want to make eye contact because they don't want it to be them next. Just look away. So fast forward now to graduation. I'm with my family, right? I've earned the title U.S. Marine. I graduated company honor man. Number one dude.
Oh, shit.
Drill instructor walks up. He looks at me and he goes, so Marine, am I still an asshole? And I'm so fucking programmed. I'm like, sir, no, sir. Drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Carmona is not an asshole. I walked away going, of course he's an asshole. Why did I say that? I was so pissed at myself.
Get that movement back.
You can't do anything to me now.
No, exactly.
Man, for me, honestly, was going to Bahrain the first time because I just won the second world championship.
You thought you were all that?
Yeah, I thought it was a shit. And then I literally, I fucking broke a record that never been done before. So I was like, I'm the best.
It's kind of impressive.
I met you there. Yeah. I met Sheikh Khalid. Yeah. And
you trained with Khabib.
I trained with Khabib, trained with Frankie, met all the Dagestani Eagle guys.
You did well, which is why I was like,
which is why I got signed.
I was like, I need to sign this little
bastard.
bastard.
So for people who don't know, I spar with Alejandro Soto, and you managed him. Yep. At the time, he was making his return, fighting for Titan, fighting UFC vet Ricky Simone. And you literally obviously knew nothing about me, but you knew my size. So you're like, oh, you're a 35er, right? You can fight, or you can spar with Alex. He comes up to me, he goes, hey, if he starts going too hard, I'll just tell him to break it down, or I'll stop the sparring. I was like, yeah, cool, man, that's sure, whatever. And I have a good time with Alex. Him and I went back and forth, and you're just like, man, who the hell is this kid? Then the next day, we all had this big sparring day. I'm sparring with Islam Makhachev, some of the Dagestani Eagles.
What got me is when you
and then I started sparring with Khabib. Literally, everyone stopped. And I'm sparring with Khabib.
Khabib was what? How much heavier?
190.
Yeah, he was 190, and you weren't fat at that point.
Yeah, I was pretty 145 at least.
And you held your own, which was super impressive. I was like, okay, I know nothing about this kid, but he just stood toe to toe with Khabib, who outweighed him by 50 pounds, and is Khabib.
Yeah, dude,
and Shorty held his own.
And so I got signed with Lex through Titan, and then I met the Prince of Bahrain, which was awesome. And because of that, I was able to travel, train, and do all these things. So honestly, that gave me a lot of opportunity in life and changed my life. Yeah. Cool. And then I took an ass kicking for a month and a half after that because Khabib started to pick up the levels. Dude, he's
like, no, now I heard you.
So there was actually one story with Khabib where he was coming back from his knee injury because he was out for a year and a half.
Didn't he go there to get medical treatment?
Yeah, and that's how. And the Prince took care of him all that stuff, which was awesome. And I didn't know. No one's telling me anything. I just see knee pads, and he wore 2. I kicked him in the knee. I kicked him hard, I'm a small guy. You're punching me, pushing me back. I gotta, kind of hit you back. So I just kicked him, and he literally looked down at his leg and then looked up nice and slow, and I'm like, fuck.
Oh,
like,
this is gonna be bad.
this doesn't just look good. And
Yeah.
he takes me down, and his big thing is a top crucifix.
Yeah.
You know, I'm on my back, top crucifix, side position. He's just pounding me away, and my head is hitting the floor in his fist like this. And I'm
Bouncing.
slowly.
So you want to be a
Dude,
fighter?
and I'm slowly looking at the clock like this. Like, fuck, there's 2 minutes left. Yeah, and I'm just like, Khabib, dude, let me up. And I couldn't get out.
Yeah.
I get out, and Pete Williams was coaching Alex and I. And I look at Pete Williams, and Alex is sparring Khabib next. Literally 30 seconds in, same exact position. But you don't even see Alex.
Yeah.
You just see his feet doing this the entire time. And I look at Pete, and I was like, hey, man. Was this as bad as did I look this bad? He goes, no, this is way worse. This is way worse. Like, he's like, oh, Alex is a little bigger. I'm going to take it up a notch.
Right.
It was so bad. But that's, what changed my life. And one more question. If you can create a perfect fighter, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, BJJ, and just fight IQ, how would you create it?
Well, like, what skills from who?
Uh-huh. So let's start with wrestler.
Wrestler. Best wrestler. I mean, there's so many good wrestlers. I don't know. I don't even know.
Can't think of a
I'm
wrestler?
trying to think of the best. The best ones.
I'll go.
Okay, let's go.
I'm gonna think about it.
The obvious answer, I think, is like Cael Sanderson in terms
Yeah, I was
of
gonna
wrestling.
say them, but I thought you meant
But
actors.
I think for someone who understands wrestling to MMA, I'm gonna go DC.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Because he
That's smart.
understands how to transition it to fighting.
DC does.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go with Khabib. Just because
of personal knowledge.
Literally because of personal knowledge and just how he transitions. He's a person that once he gets you on the fence, he's going to take you down. That's pretty much it. Open mat, there's a 50-50, maybe 75-25, but once he gets you on the fence, he's more than likely taking you down. Look at the Michael Johnson fight.
Yeah.
He sprawled so many times and was still getting taken down from every different angle, and every takedown was different.
Yeah.
Like, his level of
Yeah,
expertise
he's
is different.
so creative.
All right, boxing. A good MMA boxer. Who would you choose?
I would say Roy Jones in his prime. I mean, or Mike Tyson, but it's like you just want the speed. I think actually Roy Jones because of speed, like the speed, the slip in, you know what I mean, like that. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Mike Tyson just because
Yeah,
what he did was so amazing, and just even now he's 54, right? Like here I am, 49, coming back, coming and getting ready to fight, and I think, holy shit, like it's feasible, right? That I could fight a guy like Mike Tyson.
Sure.
Man, I think I just pissed myself. Like you see the videos of him right now? He's still cracking.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
Yeah. So I'm definitely Mike Tyson for me.
All right. My favorite fighter is Manny Pacquiao in general, man.
Yeah.
He's fast, he's quick, he's powerful. At the age, I think, of 41, he became a world champ again, defeating Keith Thurman, who was at his prime at 30 years old, undefeated. And he's just super explosive. I mean, if you ever seen, he started at 108 pounds, ended his career, or at least his championship career, at 154. So, and he still has the biggest calves out of every weight class, which is ridiculous. And that's honestly where his power comes from. All right, kickboxer. Who would you choose?
Well, that's easy for
Yeah.
me. Wonderboy.
All right.
And Rami's moving up the ranks.
Yeah, I honestly would just say Rami because I was kicked so much more yesterday.
I only know Rami for I've only been, you know what I mean, got to really learn from him and see his style, but Wonderboy has been for 10 years for me,
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I love Rami and I know how truly talented he is.
Yeah.
But
his time will
when
come.
a guy like George St. Pierre calls you the greatest striker in all of combat sports, then you come in and back that shit up.
It's true.
I
felt it.
And, I put WE into the UFC. Managed him for a long, long time. Still super close with him and his family. There's no question to me that if I'm choosing a kickboxer, it's going to be Wonderboy Thompson.
Yeah, and I've traveled all over the world. I've been to Holland, Thailand, been to Alpha Male Gym. I've been to every gym all over the states, and best Dutch kickboxing in Holland, Thailand, obviously. And I think Wonderboy, that's special.
All right.
Although Badr Hari is another really fucking killer example of a tremendous.
Yeah.
But you're
kickboxer.
saying for MMA too, though.
Yeah, that's why I went with Wonderboy.
All right. BJJ practitioner.
I'm gonna have to. What do you got?
Crone Gracie.
Yeah,
All right.
fuck on Chrono Race. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the one in my weight class, right?
Yeah.
So I say me then.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that. I knew it was gonna be a cheat. Man, how do you say that? Is it Hani? Hani Yaya?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy. The first time I didn't know who he was. I didn't know, and I think I told you this story. I didn't know who he was. We sparred with Big Gloves, and I thought,
what was some guy called Hani or Yaya?
Yeah. I don't know how to say his first name because it's spelled different. You know,
Ronnie, but it's
yeah.
Ronnie,
So it's Portuguese, but I know the Yaya part, and I remember going with him with Big Gloves. I'm like, man, this guy's not that good. Stand up, all right, cool. I'm beating him up, stand up, and he does these like easy takedowns, and I'm like, man, this guy's pretty strong. And he gets me down on the ground, and I'm super explosive, you know. So I'm like, I'll just wait here, and so I find the time. And every time I tried to explode, I'm like, damn, I feel like I'm in danger. Like the spidey sense is like tingling. I was like, oh man, I feel like a position's coming in. He tapped me out, I think in 10 minutes, maybe 5 times with Big Gloves, and they were all chokes,
right?
North-south choke and guillotines, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I don't get tapped. If I do get tapped, it's not gonna be the same thing over. And he tapped me out so many times. I remember going to the sauna after and crying. Yeah. And then later on the day, Formiga comes to me.
I'm glad that I'm not the only one crying around here.
I was so frustrated because it doesn't happen. And then Formiga comes to me and goes, Shorty, your jiu-jitsu level here. My jiu-jitsu here. Yaya's here. It's okay. And then I looked it up. I was like, how many times he was world champ? Wait. I was like, you know what? Okay, cool. And then I started, picking him, little things here and there. But yeah. So we have you on the show.
Yep.
How did you start MMA?
For me, I started MMA. I mean, it really started when I was a kid. I grew up in like a big Italian household.
In Boston.
In Boston.
Like, I had 2 older brothers, 2 younger brothers, a sister. So, and then, I played hockey since I could walk. I could skate and play hockey. But my favorite part of hockey was, the fighting. Mm-hmm. So, like,
you were an enforcer in hockey.
Yeah, I was about to say, sounds like the
that's
goon.
what we did. And then, like, I had my older brothers would always be chasing me around the house. I'd be like, you know what I'm saying? So they'd always be whooping my ass. Their friends would come over. We had a full-size trampoline, and we'd fight on it. So their friends would beat me up. They would beat me up. And, I had to get tough fast. You know what I'm saying? And then
that's, I think, been your most important attribute as a fighter.
Yeah. Is
your toughness and tenacity.
Yeah. And all the other stuff is stuff that you can learn. So, like, I mean, that's stuff that's instilled in you when you're, child. Most of the best fighters are, like, have the most fucked up, like, stories and stuff like that. Sure. The best fighters. Like, if you really get their story, the toughest ones that you see, the biggest dogs are, like, if you hear their story, it's always pretty amazing.
Listen, man, like, a comfortable life does not make for a fighter.
Yeah. So
I was talking to Mike Ricci, and who I managed for a long time, and and trained with Mike. When we were talking about what I'm doing here, getting ready to fight, he's like, listen, the best piece of advice I can give you, it's really the same advice I would give any fighter, is never allow yourself to become civilized. Once you do that, you lose the edge.
Yeah, they say that in Rocky too.
Yeah,
but it's true. It's true, and that's.
Wait, they say that shit in Rocky? You mean Mike fucking stole some shit from a movie and gave it to
100%.
me? Fuck you, Ricci! I love you still, but fuck you, Ricci! I thought that shit came from the heart, bro.
That's what Rocky quote.
Yeah, it's coach that to him. But so I grew up like that, and I remember like always being on our hockey teams. We used to put on the gloves, the helmets, and the mouthpiece. We used something called locker boxing. And if you ever been in a hockey locker room, it's just like a little square box. We have our bags around. And we used to just crack it out all the time. They used to try to haze us. Like when I was a freshman, I remember I whooped like seniors' ass, whatever. You know what I mean? So I was always tough, like, because I grew up fighting. And I would have a punching bag in my garage. But then as I got older, when I was 16, and then the following year when I was 17, I lost my 2 older brothers a year apart. Dominic and Vincent, they died of drug overdoses. They died of accidental drug overdoses. So, like, after the first one happened, it was really tough, obviously. And then I went from being, like, the pretty much the youngest brother, like, being, like, the baby in the family, because my younger brothers are, like, 10, 12 years younger than me, to being, like, the oldest, you know what I mean? To being, like, the oldest brother in the family. So it was really hard losing my 2 older brothers like that. And, like, I remember the things that they taught me the most was always, like, you never let someone punk you, never let someone, like beat you. You never give up. Like, that was always the thing that they kind of, it was always instilled in me, and so I bring that into every fight when I fight. Like, is really, it's at that time, especially like me and like a junior and then a senior in high school, like those are the most like years of your life where you kind of find out who you are, you become things, and man, it broke me down, and it really put me in a mental base.
And that's
really
part
hard.
of why you came down to Florida, right? Was that part of the journey of self-discovery?
Yeah. So when I wasn't doing very good mentally. I was able to actually go to college right after all that, because I was able to get into a college, went to culinary school, graduated with a culinary arts degree, by the skin of my teeth. I mean, I did what I had to do to pass the classes and show up and did what I did.
$20 is $20,
Yeah.
right? Sorry,
or 10.
What do we need to do to get this A?
So after
okay.
that, yeah, exactly. So after that, I basically, got into a really dark place. Things got bad. It was, it was a pretty bad place, and the cops came to my house. Luckily, I wasn't there, and came to my apartment and like basically raided my apartment looking for me. So I was like, man, I'm going to Florida. And I figured, for me, I think of it like a second chance. Like, I'm like, if I didn't go to Florida and change my life and go to I went to a treatment center in Florida to like change my life and to do better. I met a therapist who actually is the one who suggested, my therapist Jennifer, she suggested that I find, like some other type of hobby and outlet. And I said, what about boxing? She's like, yeah, it's a great idea, something to do. So like, being open-minded and that stuff, and they taught me a lot of skills and character building skills and stuff like that, and it really helped me a lot, and it helped me in martial arts because I was open-minded. Like, instead of going in saying, oh, this guy can't teach me this person can't teach me this, like, I was very open-minded, and I learned a lot from it. And it just that's what really made me tough, is like, it just going through all that emotional stuff with losing my brothers.
One of the things, I've known you forever, man.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like almost since the time you came down to Florida. Probably a few years after you were there.
You were my first manager ever.
And hearing you now, talking about your brothers, then hearing your own, how you kind of dealt with that, right? Which was not in the most productive or positive way initially.
Self-medication.
So it's a question about addiction and that behavior. You see what the results are, yet you went and did it yourself.
Yeah.
And like, I can't fathom that.
Yeah.
Man. Like,
that's what everyone says. Like, well, how could you do that after you did that? And it's like, at that point when it started, I started when I was young.
Is that what happened with your second brother? He kind of was like,
well, he
self-medicated
down. Yeah, he just like, he got really bad after my brother passed away. Like, he was doing a lot. He overdosed one time, and I remember having a talk with him after I picked him up from the hospital, and I'm like, dude, like, I can't lose you too. Like, I just lost Vin. Like, I can't lose another brother to this. It's like, I need you, man. You're my only older brother now. And he's like, no, man, I love you. It won't. And then like 2 weeks later, then happened again. But this time I didn't pick him up at the hospital.
Yeah. Do you feel, now that you've come out the other side, that it's incumbent upon you, or that you have a responsibility to, and I know you have Chucky's fight and the whole foundation and everything, but do you feel it's your responsibility to kind of get on top of the mountaintops, so to speak, and let people know, like, there's another way, there's other things you can do to be positive, to not
100%.
fall into that?
100%. That's one of the biggest things I do is I go to school, I go to high schools, go to treatment centers. That's actually how I met Justin, the camera guy for Titan. Is I went to a treatment center when he asked me to go to a treatment center before he ever worked with you or anything. Right. And he said, hey, I got some guys that are in a really tough spot. And these are like the worst of the worst kids. Like, just basically kids that probably should be in jail, or kids that are coming out of hospitals or should be almost dead. And, I would go talk to them. I'd go to the treatment centers. And I just felt like I had to give back, because I felt like if someone like me came to a treatment center when I was there, like at my worst place, and was like, hey, like, 5 years ago, I was sitting in that same chair you're in a treatment center, like thinking that my life was over and I'm hopeless. And now they're in the UFC on TV, fighting as a professional athlete.
Living your dream.
After something brand new. The only reason I got into mixed martial arts is because of my addiction, because of all the problems that I had. So, like, for me, I'm like, if I can do it, I'm no better than you guys. I'm not a freak athlete. I can't do backflips. I'm not like, don't run a 4.240. I'm just a regular tough kid that went through a lot of stuff just like everybody sitting here. And I'm like, if I can do it, I'm not saying you have to be a fighter, but if you want to do anything, like, there's no limitations, because I'm proof of it.
Sure.
So that's
I think that listen, making money is great, and but it's not what we should aspire to do.
Yeah.
What we should aspire to do is to leave a mark, help people, because I think that when you measure wealth and richness, if you've helped save a life, if you've made someone else's life better, you're as wealthy as it gets, man.
And honestly, the crazy thing I think about helping people is, honestly, it's almost selfish. It helps me more. I go to the children's hospitals. I
cathartic.
Put the belts on the kids. I do the things, and like, it's like whatever. But like, when I leave there, I feel better than I could ever feel, and it's almost selfish. I'm like, I have to do it for myself too.
Yeah,
and
sure.
if it
I think it
them-
helps center us.
Yeah.
You know, it humbles us a little bit.
Yeah.
It takes us back to a place of understanding like how truly fortunate we all are.
Yeah.
You know.
Blessed. Yep.
What else you got, Shorty?
No, it's crazy because again, like we've been talking about in our last episode, and furthermore, even especially with my journey, it's just mental health.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy how you can be the most athletic person in the world, but without the mental capacity to push forward, you're not going to go anywhere. You know, you could have the best machine in the world, but without an operator, there it goes. The machine's useless.
Yeah.
So, I think we talked about it when you were making your UFC return. Because how long were you gone because of your injury?
I was out 2 years with the neck injury. I had 2 herniated discs in my neck. The doctor basically told me he said you'll never fight again. Or I go.
It wasn't even like that you wouldn't even walk again potentially.
Yeah, that's
right?
what he said too. He's like, you're lucky. I'm like, dude. Well, so what are you telling me? He goes, well, it's improbable you'll ever fight again. I go, are you telling me it's improbable or are you telling me it's impossible? Because those are 2 different things to me. If you're telling me it's improbable, you're saying there's a very small chance. He goes, yes, like less than a 1% chance. And I said, well, you know what? I said, I'm a 1%er. I've been a 1%er my whole life. And there's less than 1% of the fighters that fight, that make it to the UFC and make it to this level, and people that come back from the odds that I have. So if you're telling me there's a 1% chance, that's a chance I'm willing to take. I want to move forward with this. I want to do the surgery, and I want to take my chances. And he goes, okay.
All right.
And I did it, and it paid off, and I came back. It ended up taking 18 months to come back from
When you first came back, did you have any trepidation, any fear
Dude, I was
with
terrified.
that first fight?
I was terrified.
Or even the training?
And that's what I wanted to ask, because I've had a year and 4 months off.
I was
So
fucking terrified, but I knew what the sport did to me. It saved my life, and I'm like, well, I would be dead anyway. So, I mean, it's a crazy way to think, but that's what I thought
Well,
about.
it's when I was in Somalia, man. Like,
I was like,
how
wow,
did I
that's
function?
wild.
I just came to the understanding that my death was predetermined.
Yeah.
Like, I'm dead at some point.
That's what I was
so
like, might as well.
yeah, so might as well go for it, man,
go
and
for
live
it,
life to the
exactly.
fullest.
That's what I said. I even said to the doctor, he's like, well, what do you want to do? I go, this is who I am. Like, I'm a fighter. Like, if I die doing this, and I'm okay with it. Like, and some people might think that's crazy what it is, but that's what I chose to do. I saw my 2 older brothers die and from drug overdoses, and and to be able to do what I've done and to do it, and now to be able to overcome it means more than anything, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a pretty powerful kind of place to leave it off. Rosa, thank you so much, Charles, for being here, brother. I love you being up here at Fight Camp. You've been such an incredible component of it, man. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for that as well.
You,
but I'm Lex McMahon, Jose Shorty Torres, the Angry Chihuahua, and Boston Strong, Charles Rosa, Twins Podcast. Check us out.